I've come up with another type of mouse movement which I call mouse gliding. It's equivalent to the move mouse up, down, left, right, very slow, slow, fast, very fast commands in Dragon, but much more efficient and with a much wider range of speeds. In my case, I say a direction to move the mouse continuously in that direction, adding crawl, slow, fast or sprint on the end of it for additional speeds. Going up a speed step multiplies the speed by about 3, and at the maximum you can get across the screen in a few seconds, whereas with Dragon the speed increments are very small and even the maximum is quite slow. Each time I say a new direction, even if it's the same one, it terminates the previous direction's routine before starting its own one, either stopping it directly or by pressing F8, which each routine keeps checking for. Movement is also stopped by saying stop or click or right click, and I have my standard clicking macros working at the same time in case I need to click or drag without stopping. This way, I can move the mouse across the screen with fewer commands than grid movement for getting to a location, still don't need to use a mouse grid, and can sometimes hit a moving target. Here are a few demonstrations where it proves useful. In Tengami, it makes the origami movements much smoother and nicer. In a video editor, like the old Windows Movie Maker, it can help you select and drag video clips into specific places. It can do this for audio clips as well, but that is much more precise and will require a lot of patience. In a real-time strategy game like Command & Conquer, Red Alert 2, it can help you with selecting areas on the map, and with a little effort you can catch units in motion, though not the faster ones. Click.
New construction options.
I include some diagonal movements as well. To implement this in VoiceBot, I first make the macros press F8 to terminate previous gliding macros. Then it runs some macro code in C#, which looks like this. The 3 key parts of the code are the mouse increment made, the time delay, and checking whether F8 has been pressed to end the loop. Once the loop ends, I make it move 1 pixel back in the direction it was going, so that on a game in which the cursor on the edge of the screen causes it to scroll, this stops it scrolling by breaking contact with the edge of the screen. Here are the increments and time delays for the speeds that I use. The words I've chosen are such that they don't get mixed up with each other and can be pronounced quickly and also make linguistic sense. You'll notice that going from slow to normal to fast, the speed jumps up by a factor of 3, but from fast to sprint it's only by a factor of 2. This is because mouse gliding at very high speeds tends to cause you to constantly overshoot, and that stops it being as useful. Meanwhile, moving from slow to crawl, I couldn't decrease the pixel increment any further, but I could increase the time delay. I chose to make it only 2.5 times slower because I don't yet have any circumstances where I would need much more precision than that. If I chose to do some detailed pixel hunting or pixel editing, or even some audio editing, there would be cause for changing the time delay. However, if you implement this yourself, you are free to make whatever increments that you like. I used F8 for cancelling the loop because there are very few environments in which Windows uses it. The downside with changing the hotkey now is having to dive into each individual macro's C# code to change the key value and the key pressed in every single profile. You could implement this in a fairly similar way in AutoHotKey, though you would have to come up with at least 20 individual hotkeys to be activated by the VoiceBot commands. On the upside, it would be much easier to tweak than with VoiceBot. Another way would be to make each direction command run a specific AutoHotKey script file containing a loop. This negates the need for any hotkeys, but if you needed to recalibrate speeds between games, it would be quite tiresome to edit the values in at least 20 AutoHotKey files. In VoiceAttack, you can combine your commands so you only need one for each direction, each of which starts out by eliminating all other loops, either directly or by ending the loop condition. This avoids the need for a termination hotkey. You need to make it detect which speed you chose, set the time delay and increment accordingly, and start the loop. This seems robust enough that even if you say the same direction multiple times, so it's technically not stopping the previous loops, it still only runs one loop at a time without the speeds accumulating. You will still need commands for stopping, and for clicking which will end the movements, and it may help to have a hotkey activating the stop command just in case VoiceAttack has trouble listening to your termination commands. The only drawback is that with loops ended directly, it's unable to move the cursor 1 pixel back like in the VoiceBot implementation. It's possible to combine all the directions and speeds into a single command using some if statements and a couple of tricks, which I may explain in another video. Overall, mouse gliding opens up many new movement and camera opportunities for all sorts of games, so I'll be using this quite regularly.